Good morning and welcome to our fireside chat without fire. My name is Kerim, co-founder and COO of RE'FLEKT. I'm more than happy to host this session together with two friends and very familiar faces in the augmented and mixed reality space, Michael from Microsoft and Juergen from Bosch. As said in the introduction, the next 20 minutes we will spend to talk about the need of a smooth collaboration between hardware, software, but more importantly also of the solution, and also about key barriers and how to overcome these to scale augmented and mixed reality solutions within the corporation. So before we start with the chat, I would like to introduce or let you guys introduce yourselves, who you are, where you're working, and what you do on a daily basis. So Michael.
Yeah, thanks very much, Kerim. So my name is Michael Zawrel. I'll take care of the mixed reality marketing side in half of Europe, in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, the Nordics, and Central Eastern Europe. So I help customers, I help partners, I help you guys, I help university make their mixed reality vision come to life.
My name is Juergen Lumera. I'm located here in Munich. It's the best show in the whole year because I just have to drive from home for 10 minutes. I'm responsible for augmented reality and applying it for our customers. And our customers are mainly automotive industry, but also inside of Bosch, the whole global parts we develop, white goods, etc. We build solutions to make them more efficient worldwide. Automotive and Bosch customers, mainly.
Okay, then directly let's jump into the discussions. I would like to open this discussion with a statement. Apple CEO Tim Cook, or how some people call him, Tim Apple, recently said that in the future from now, we can't imagine how we could live without augmented reality. So I would like to transform this sentence or statement towards, in a few years from now, we can't imagine how we could work and train without augmented reality. So what do you think of this statement, or why did it take so long to really scale that, Michael?
You know, I say this all the time, but people don't believe me because I'm not Tim Cook. So, but it's good that CEO take the stage and place those statements so that people start to think about it. And it's really hard to imagine a future. So that's why we all love science fictions. And most of this, or a lot of this technology in science fiction came to life. Think of the communicator in Star Trek. So it's really about imagination, and if you think about the long way that the mobile phone or the smartphone as we know today has come from suitcase-sized phones costing 10,000 of German marks at that case, and people were laughing at and saying, you know, no one is going to make a phone call. We have all those beautiful wired calls with this spinning wheels, and nowadays people can't imagine that time. In fact, youth cannot even operate it anymore. They are not familiar with this concept. So the technology will change. The technology will change the way we communicate, we learn, and we collaborate in the future. And it takes a lot of imagination, but it's not far from here anymore. So in a couple of years, hopefully, we all will look back and think, gosh, how could we, stare at those little 5-inch screens if the world is our canvas? So,
if you say a couple of years, just an additional question to that, time frame, 2 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 plus. I know it's very vague, but at least everyone has a different understanding of the definition.
To be honest, we don't know. I mean, technology is accelerating. We're seeing lots of new devices, lots of new head-mounted displays, and we can't hardly imagine how fast we progress with that technology. Whether it be 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, I think it doesn't matter ultimately.
Okay. Juergen, your view and thoughts on this?
I believe fully in it. So I'm this will be the case. But I think there's a difference than how you start using a mobile phone and suddenly it makes your central part. This started from consumers. I think AR, the success will come first from the industry and then it goes to consumers, or from both sides. So, and why does the the industry not already said, I cannot live without augmented reality, is there was not a killer use case. Everybody thinks, oh, it's helpful here, helpful there, and everybody talks about augmented reality and technology. And I think what is currently happening and what is changing, they talk about how can I benefit with it. At the same time, I eliminate the need to talk about AR, XR or VR. I talk about somebody provides me information. And then in parallel, I have devices which supporting that. For us, the HoloLens 2 is a huge step forward, because suddenly I can not only talk about how this will look like in the future with a hands-free, and I get seamless integrated content help to show information. I can show it right now, not in 5 years. And that's what we see in the industry. It's moving towards that this becomes a reality. More and more applications, more and more demands caused by devices which help to transport that message.
Okay. You talked about challenges. I mean, maybe I just take what you said. I think one of the challenges enterprises are facing right now is just the huge amount of new devices and software offerings which just pop up almost on a daily, weekly or monthly basis. So they have the choice between really plenty of those, but what we see and observe is that many of these tools are really difficult to connect, to exchange data between different systems, and not considering the IT infrastructure enterprises have. So what is also more importantly, the most solutions which are right now in the market are generic. So one size fits all, but there's not one single consumer and vertical and end user which fits to everyone. So everyone has specific requirements. So the foundation, in our opinion, I think, as we're sitting here, for success is a smooth collaboration between hardware, software, and the vertical-specific solution. So, Michael, a question to you. What is, in your opinion, needed to have a perfectly working ensemble between hardware and software?
Well, to me, ultimately, it's the people that operate those technology, and they need certain skill set, a certain mind share or mind shift in order to make this happen. So I think of this as you need people that are skilled to operate those various technology. I mean, there's lots of platform available, so you can start creating those experience right away, right? It's Unity, it's Unreal, or whether it's DirectX C# or what have you. So you really need skilled people first, and then you need enthusiasm for this type of technology, so that you can transport this kind of enthusiasm to your clients, because you want to convince them, because many of those clients have never experienced this type of technology before, so it's an unknown. So you need really some high energy, and then you need imagination. I think as a critical tool, because as I said, I mean, no one knows how the future look like, but you need to transport some sort of image. How could this future look like for you guys? Because the hardware, even the application, they change over time. That's Moore's law. So they become smaller, better, what have you. But the experience is center stage for those customers. So you need a lot of imagination and transport this kind of imagination, transport an image or plant an image or how this future could look like.
Do you think it's hard, just an add-on question to this, do you think it's really hard to transport that imagination?
Well, it depends on your own enthusiasm. So, I mean, I'm a believer in this kind of technology, and I guess you all are as well. So I think for us, it's pretty easy to transport that and create this kind of image, because we can kind of imagine how this future look like. But for other people who start new, it might be tougher.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Juergen, now the contrary question to you. I mean, you've built a solution for training and for service in the automotive sector. So what's your expectation to the hardware? Well, so what should the hardware fulfill to really meet your needs?
Okay. And I answer your question, but I would just underline
Please,
something
go
you
ahead.
said.
It's an open discussion.
Because I think it's exactly our problem. Everybody here inside most likely is convinced that AR is a cool technology, it will rule the world in the future. But we don't have to convince ourselves. We need to convince the people who will benefit from it. And therefore we have to change from talking about the technology to talking about solutions. Talking about things they can benefit from and not selling them A, B or C. And that's exactly what we did. What expectation do we have on the hardware for our solutions? They are built with this in mind. We want to help somebody, make it more efficient, better, faster, more understandable, conserve knowledge, etc. But the hardware has to work flawlessly. I don't have to deal with, when your HoloLens 1 was, I have to click. This is gone. And this by itself, it makes it much more transparent to a user that I'm wearing a device. So for us, a wide field of view, very comfortable to wear the whole day, and I don't have to train first a user to use it. It should be really impromptu. I put it on and I can use it. And you did a great step forward. We would have some wider field of view, even lighter, smaller form factor. But in the industry, this is easier to build. We want to use a technology like that in the future as the central user interface to our workshop technicians. So the only device inside of the workshop will be glasses. And everything which supports that needs to go into these glasses. I have multiple devices in the workshop. They all need to be connected. They all have right now individual screens. There's no need for an individual screen. I can have all of them as virtual screens, make the other parts easier, simpler, and aggregate my information.
Yeah, fully agree to that. So I think coming back to the how to transport that imagination, I think, I mean, we are dealing with that questions on a day-to-day basis from enterprises. They say, look, is it really future? Is it really coming? And what I say is that per definition, augmented reality is for me not a revolution, right? It's for me an evolution. It's a natural next step how you interact with data. So for augmented reality, besides all the tracking obstacles and hardware, whatever, it's just a visual layer for all industrial data you have, yeah? So you can interact with them, you can bring them in a more meaningful format. So maybe just an extract, so what we are working as RE'FLEKT, and you guys are working with that, our vision is to create really the foundation for a perfect augmented reality orchestra, meaning hardware agnostic, because you can't force any company in the world to use a specific hardware. They need to be connectable to legacy systems, to any existing IT infrastructures. So we're working on the operating system for enterprise augmented reality to allow partners and customers, and we will talk about that in a minute, to really create vertical specific solutions considering all the factors you're looking for. So talking about vertical specific solutions, Juergen, a question to you. Bosch and also yourself, you have extensive experience in the automotive industry, all right? So since decades, and Bosch, a century, over 150 years, I think, something like that, right? I don't know. Yeah? Okay.
A lot.
So you know about the standards and the requirements of this vertical. Verticals can be very different, but they also sometimes have the same basis. So what do you say is kind of unique for the automotive industry?
I mean, I would say you have, first, it's most likely the widest usage you can imagine. Every OEM and every independent aftermarket chain has thousands or hundreds of thousands of workshops and service technicians. So the user base is dramatically large. And they have to integrate, to make this really beneficial for them, you need to integrate their specific tools, starting from a diagnostic system over wheel aligner, headlight adjuster. If you go in a workshop and you look, you see this lift, but when you look around, you see 20, 30 different devices which helps a service technician to repair. So there's a very specific ecosystem you have to integrate to make him really efficient. And on the other side, the variances of the data. If I order today a vehicle, a car, I can select so many options in that car, many, many more than I can do with any other product you can buy. And suddenly, I need to support the service technicians when he sees a specific car in front of him with this information, the information of that car, not of a generic one anywhere. So, and these are the two things, in my opinion, which makes the whole automotive industry very, very unique to a lot of others. But there are commonality. I need to have integration. With others, so I can have standard interfaces. I need to have a variant management to a certain degree. It's also applicable to other industries. Maybe the scale is differently. And the fact you need to get all the devices into the workshop. Right now, not everybody has already devices with a phone, with a camera in the workshop. So that's the next thing. Other industries may be already permanently using telephones, tablets, which have these devices which are enabled. The automotive industry is something where you need to put this into place.
Okay. Michael, question to you. I'm talking about requirements and specifications. Like Windows was the foundation for many, many business applications. So what we target and with our operating system is, of course, to provide the basis for enterprise AR. So providing SDKs, APIs in the marketplace. So in your opinion, what are the most essential applications for an enterprise to start with AR?
Well, you need applications, you need tools to create those type of experiences, and I talked about it a minute ago. So tools that people can use to create 3D, to create spatial experience. The most common tools that are widely used out there is Unity and is now Unreal. Obviously, you need the program tools like Visual Studio. So that's the Microsoft pitch to that.
Okay. So the reason why we're sitting here is because we have this triangle of our offerings, our operating system, your hardware, and your vertical specific solution, which is called CAP, what I mentioned before, for training in the automotive environment. This solution was presented at the IAA this year in Frankfurt and introduced to the public. So it was actually the first live test for the triangle, how we are sitting here. So question to you, Juergen, how was general the feedback to the solution from the public, but also from industry experts out of the automotive? And did also other verticals see that solution?
But I think we had, funnily, Michael, we had at the beginning, as we were at the EAA, where we showed it, he said, but that's not what I had expected. It looks a little different. And the reason was, we brought a real application. So this was not something we did for a show. We brought our training, the way we execute it, on an electrical component of electrical vehicle and showed it there. So at the beginning, this is not a marketing, but for us, this is the first way, go away from just talking about AR, you show what you really do. And then the first experts came and had this demo, and the feedback was very, very positive. So we showed, for example, how you can diagnose a certain component inside of electric vehicle, and they immediately understood how beneficial this is when we can show it with such a device, with such an operating system, and the logic around the automotive infrastructure. It was, for us, very, very positive. Right? And hopefully you can confirm our road from, it's not a marketing demo, it's a real application. And you can see this, if you like, at our booth, and feel it by yourself, if you like.
Exactly. The colleagues from Bosch, they have the HoloLens 2s, they have this application, what we mentioned, the triangle, using the operating system. But question to you, Michael, it's a brand new hardware, obviously. It's not available in the market. Everyone is really seeking to test it, to see it, to feel it. What's the difference? So considering the operating system and the vertical specific solution, what are the key benefits we are getting out of the new device? Maybe you can explain that. So what's the thing where you said, okay, that makes the HoloLens
The
2
secret
different.
sauce.
The secret sauce.
All right.
Yeah.
So, but before I answer to that, I want to touch base on Juergen's comment at the beginning. So, yes, we had a little bit of an argument, a friendly argument.
Really.
So no worries on that one, because I'm a marketing guy. So I like, shiny demonstration with sounds and someone speaking and some fancy animation stuff. And then Juergen, all of a sudden, and the Bosch team, they brought a fully fledged functional mixed reality application that they actually use. So there wasn't any fancy animation. There was no voice that guided me through the experience, because it was a trainer, a real person that had to guide us through the trainer. So Juergen was like, no, Michael, it's the full-fledged version. And I was, no, Juergen, it has to be a demonstration. So we had a little bit of an argument, and I think at the end we came to the common conclusion that we had great fun at the International Auto Show, but also we were both right at the end. So, whenever an expert came, an expert in the automotive industry, they go nuts about this solution. They were like, wow, what can I do with it? Can I see more? Can I try this out? Can I try that out? Really domain knowledge and really trying to dive deep into. But on the other side, there were obviously many people who haven't any experience with this type of devices, so really new. And for those people, you really need to start soft and slow, because it's, there's lots of going on in their brain. So for them, you need this shiny kind of animation, voices, and what have you, this demo type of experience. So I think you need both at the end, and that's also part of the imagination. So coming back to your question, it was really the proof point for the automotive industry. How well does the new shiny HoloLens 2 do in such an event? And it was really interesting for us also to observe, especially for me. So those guys were doing the demo. I could sit back and relax a little bit and see what's going on, how the reaction was, and it was, quite frankly, as expected. I mean, for all of you guys who do demonstration, you know the feeling when you put someone on a HoloLens or a similar device on someone's head, and then their eyes open up and they start to smile and they go like, oh wow. And this obviously happened at the International Auto Show as well. So people were like, oh gosh, what am I seeing there? It's real. You need to guide them. To be honest. So because what people do is they put on the HoloLens device or what have you device, and then they stand still. Because that's how we used to compute since 20 or even longer years. We sit in front of a computer screen and just operate using our arm and a mouse. So you really need to teach the people, hey, have a look around at the hologram. And once they start to move themselves around the hologram, then they go completely nuts. Oh, wow, that's cool. And then they want to see and experience more. So, and then the HoloLens 2 really shines as well, because we're now moving from a controller-based system like the PC with the mouse, from gestures that we used to use at the HoloLens 1, now to completely natural hand and eye interaction. No longer there's a need to do the air tap or the bloom or how we call it, Mamma Mia. No. You do it like you do. I mean, and this is also a typical observation, and this is a scientific observation as well. So typically after 5 to 7 minutes, your unconscious brain accept a hologram to be real. Although it's just photons, it's nothing. It's a picture, it's an imagination, but like after 5 to 7 minutes, the unconscious brain accept a hologram to be real, to have a mass. So what people tend to do, first timers, they try to touch it. They try to grab it. That's an absolute natural way. So we told them, look, if something's red in this demonstration, just grab it. And the people go like, I don't know what you mean. Just grab it. And we told them, yeah, just grab it. So they went to the hologram, to the red part, they grabbed it, and then they went completely crazy. Oh, wow, I'm holding a hologram. Can I move it from one hand to another? Yes, you can. And then they start to play around naturally. Well, I mean, it's a small part. Can I make it bigger? And we go like, yeah, make it bigger. So they make it huge, which is always great fun because then the entire booth is filled up with holograms. So they go like, oh wow, I can use this. I can manipulate this in a total natural way. And this is true for 99% of all people. And there are still 0.0, so 0.0, I don't know, 1% of people who are so deep into I operate computing technology as I always have operated it. And for when you wear the HoloLens, when you put it on for the first time, we want to do an eye calibration. So a hologram is floating in front of your face and say, let's calibrate your eyes. Please push adjust. So there's a button floating like 50 centimeters in front of your head. And what most people do, and we don't tell them how to do it, we say just push the button and they go like, okay, it works. So really natural. But then there was this one guy who said, it doesn't work. He was touching the HoloLens device. It just doesn't work because here's the display. I have to touch the display. But for 99.9% of the audience, that's true. They just know how to operate this kind of technology. And especially teachers, which is very interesting. I mean, for them it could be hard to learn how to use a tablet, an iPad to teach things. So we tried it out with teachers, and because it is so natural, they went like, hey, wow, if it's so easy to operate, maybe that's a tool for our children to teach them in the future, because it's so natural.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. We are running out of time. Maybe just real quick, because you guys have a lot of experiences. You are working in the automotive. You saw a lot of enterprises. The one biggest mistake enterprises do when they play around, try to use and try to roll out augmented reality. What's that? Michael, and then Juergen. Just one sentence, one.
Yeah, I mean, they get excited really quickly. I mean, it's a cool technology. I hope you all agree. They get like, oh, wow, that's so cool. Hey, we could do this, says this department. The next one who tried it out, hey, we could do that as well. Let's do a holoportation scenario. And the next one goes, and now we do remote assist. And then the CFO or CIO or CTO goes like, we do everything together. And then the project lasts like 3 years, nothing happens. So really, step by step is the right approach. Start small, make it work within a couple of weeks, start your proof of concept, and then progress and move on later on. Don't try to build the all-up solution that does everything. That doesn't work.
Okay, absolutely agree. Juergen?
I can just echo what Michael said. Start in an area which is easy to control. For us, is most of the time training, so a smaller environment I can deploy it, but don't build just a proof of concept or pilot. You need to have a plan from the beginning, what happens after the proof of concept to make this productive. You need to have at the beginning an idea about your budget you need to have to secure that, and maybe put it on criteria where you say, hey, if I reach with my POC these features, these KPIs are met. I build a pilot and I already say what the pilot would cost and what a productive would cost. And when I hit these KPIs, I can go forward. If you don't do this, like with most other technologies, it will end up with a POC and nothing more. And I think that's the biggest mistake every industry has done. It was isolated in innovation centers or in small departments. To be successful, you need to change this.
Okay, thank you. So proper preparation and well thought through execution.